if you have a strong desire to be liked, don't be the leader.
You're the one making the hard decisions oftentimes.
If you're leading, there are times where you will be disliked by the entire group, and that takes courage to move forward facing that pressure of being disliked.
In today's episode, we delve into the 4 C's: commitment, courage, capability, and confidence, the fundamental traits that every successful entrepreneur must cultivate to thrive. These core qualities are not just individual assets, but are deeply interconnected, forming the bedrock of any entrepreneurial venture.
The Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast is your ultimate launchpad for igniting ideas and skyrocketing your entrepreneurial dreams. Your 2 hosts will be Professor Gary Palin and serial entrepreneur Ryan Budden.
Well, hello, Ryan. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, Professor Palin. What about you?
I think the standard busy, as always, answer is consistent.
Very consistent for both of us. As we always say, a good thing. You and I need to keep busy or we kind of feel like we're stagnating.
Busy or nothing to do would be terrible.
That's exactly right.
Right. Today, I'd like to talk about the 4 C's. That refers to commitment, courage, capability, and confidence, and how that's applied to entrepreneurship. And really, those are some fundamental traits that help an entrepreneur thrive.
Anytime we put a framework like the 4 C's around something, we can use it as a self-analysis tool to see where we stack up, maybe where we're lacking, where we're going to put some more emphasis. This is going to be a fun episode.
We'll talk about each of them one at a time, but it's important to understand that they're not separate entities. They're deeply interconnected.
Without a doubt. And that's any good framework. You can't isolate one of the columns, if you will, from the other ones. So it's important to think about these things cohesively.
When you think about entrepreneurship, the first one, commitment, that's a no-brainer. It's an unwavering dedication to persist through the inevitable ups and downs of building a venture. It entails sticking to a vision and the efforts faced when coming up with setbacks, obstacles, or slow progress.
Commitment is vital. If you're not committed, this is too hard. Nobody's going to stick this out if they really haven't put a stake in the ground saying that they're going to do it.
That's one of the reasons I always advise, especially nascent entrepreneurs, when they're looking at an idea, to choose something that they have a passion for and they love. Because if they're not doing something they're interested in, it's just too damn hard and they tend to give up because it's not something they enjoy. Or if you have a commitment to the idea and the topic, even if it's a personal interest in it, that helps you survive the long-term obstacles and the slow progress you'll face.
That passion is vital to commitment. I'm sure we could say that passion is vital to the other 3 columns as well. But if you're not passionate about what you're doing, each day is going to feel like a slog.
To develop a commitment, when you think of it, is the importance of setting a clear, actionable goal. Because this basically acts as your guiding star. It keeps you focused and motivated.
Clearly defining that, I think, can help with that star reference. Really, where is the commitment lie? What are you specifically committed to so that you can make sure you're keeping on track?
There is more distractions than I've ever seen in my life. You're being bombarded with distractions. And that commitment allows you the focus to tune out those distractions, if you will.
That's a good way of putting it. I agree. I haven't been doing this quite as many years as you have, but already the list of distractions is insane. Social media being a big one, right? The grass is greener effect is very real.
Yeah, you just get bombarded because you're carrying those distractions either in your hand or in your pocket all the time. It's called a smartphone.
That's exactly right. We're also just exposed to so much more, whereas we were only distracted by what was going on locally, historically. Now we're really exposed to what's going on globally. Even if you're insulated in the entrepreneurial community, you're still exposed to so many more activities, things going on, distractions.
And when you're looking at it from an overarching perspective, the commitment, it really reconnects you to the why behind your entrepreneurial journey.
And we've done a whole episode on that why, which is a great thing to go back to.
Well, let's touch the second one, which is courage. It's more than just the absence of fear. Courage is about confronting uncertainty, making tough decisions, and taking calculated risks despite potential failures.
How important is that? You are going to have those potential failures. In fact, you're going to have failures. Coming back to that every time to make sure that that's not getting you off kilter or ruining a day or a week or even a month is really important to keep momentum up.
Courage is essential for innovation and leadership, because both of those situations, you're confronted with decisions that many people will fear, and you need courage to take bold steps, both in innovation and bold steps in leadership, specifically leadership, because it's not a popularity contest.
It's not, and it forces you into the spotlight. And a lot of people don't like being in the spotlight or under the microscope, whatever analogy you want to put here. Leadership forces you into that position. You have to learn to be a good leader. And that's something that I end up talking a lot about with people that I'm mentoring is there are very few people that are just born leaders. Most people have to learn those skills, and learning those skills takes courage.
I always advise people, if you have a strong desire to be liked, don't be the leader.
You're the one making the hard decisions oftentimes.
If you're leading, there are times where you will be disliked by the entire group, and that takes courage to move forward facing that pressure of being disliked.
Without a doubt.
Also with courage, one of the practical advices for developing courage, I advise people to do a risk assessment and understand the potential upsides and downsides of a decision, and then how to prepare for both scenarios. You can include, from a business perspective, techniques like SWOT analysis, scenario planning, but also you can consult with mentors who have been there before.
Entrepreneurship is a risky endeavor. Anyone can point out the statistics of failure rates, of burnout, all of these things you hear about quite frequently, and point to entrepreneurship as having an increased burden of those risks. It's inherent. How you're going to overcome that is with these strategies like SWOT analysis and scenario planning. But something that's been big in my life, and what you ended with, is the mentors. Going to the mentor, someone that's been through it, someone that has seen the other side of it. Going through that conversation has a way of that risk or that hurdles making it seem smaller. Once you know what's on the other side, it's a lot less scary.
Also with courage, you can look at it from, you can have a mental preparation to help bolster your courage. So there's techniques of positive visualization that you can utilize, setting incremental goals so it's not such a long distance darkness of a tunnel you're going down. Also, I advise people to stretch their comfort zones, bring themselves beyond where they're comfortable. A lot of people have a hard time with that. From a visualization perspective, you can restructure the threats as opportunities and how you perceive it. That can help to develop your courage.
This would count as visualization, but a big one that I use is the harder or scarier it is, the less likely someone else is to do it. So the more benefit it has to me, because I'm going to leave the competition behind. And going through that sort of exercise makes scary things seem like an opportunity that I have instead of something that I'm nervous or anxious about.
Ryan, the third area we mentioned is capabilities, and that's really skill building. And that's something you can definitely be proactive to build your skills. I look at it as a combination of skills, knowledge, and expertise that's required to manage, grow, and build your business. Understanding the dynamic nature of all of these skills.
Skill building is something that we touch on quite frequently because both you and I are in the camp of lifelong learning. I think it's vital. No matter how adept you are at a specific task, there's probably another arrow you could add to your quiver or skill set you can add to bolster your resume that would help you in day-to-day operations.
Continuous learning, we've touched on that many times, but as you just mentioned, that's a very important area. And keep in mind, focused on capabilities, keep abreast of new trends, emerging technologies, any innovative management techniques that come across, because it's a never changing dynamic atmosphere where your capabilities, you don't want them to become stagnant or even worse, antiquated. Those are something you want to keep building upon.
Oftentimes I find it when there's a hole, when you find a knowledge gap, it comes down to two things. Are you going to learn that or are you going to hire somebody to fill it? It has to be one of those two things. When you break down why a failure happened, it's because you didn't do one of those two things. You just chose to ignore it.
both you and I are very inquisitive by our nature, so we're just naturally perusing new areas, trying to stay up on top of things, in essence, educating ourselves. But you can also go through formal education. There's both in person and online. There's a tremendous amount of resources online to educate yourself. We've spoken about already a couple of times in this particular segment is mentorship. You can build your capabilities through your mentors. Something we haven't touched is peer learning. People that are your peers can help you develop those capabilities also.
That's a big one. Peers are often a little less threatening. Going to your peers to learn something can oftentimes seem a lot easier. Depending on where your peers are, as long as you have a close peer group, you're probably learning similar things. New, exciting topics for them are probably going to be new and exciting for you as well.
Ryan, before we continue, I'd like to address an important issue for the Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast. Creating a quality podcast with valuable content is very time-consuming and has substantial costs to create and produce. To cover these costs, many podcasts use a paid subscription model. Others use a sponsorship model. We prefer not to implement either of these options. I would like to address a concept called value for value podcasting.
While we enjoy creating value for our listeners, providing insights that enhance their entrepreneurial success, it would mean the world to us if our audience would also give some value back to us to support our efforts.
One might wonder, how can you support our show? Well, it's simple. Sharing our podcast with friends, colleagues, or on your social media is a fantastic way to give back.
Also, we love receiving your feedback, comments, or even just a cheerful email.
Or consider making a monetary contribution through platforms such as Venmo or Substack.
You can also support us by setting up a bill payment through your bank. This method allows you to send a contribution directly to our physical address.
Every bit of support counts, whether it's tuning in, sharing our episodes, or contributing financially. Each contribution helps us cover production costs and improve the podcast.
Check out our website at prospirit.com, where you can find more details on how to support us. Every contribution, no matter the size, makes a massive difference. Decide for yourself, what is the value of this episode to you? Let's do this together. We provide value and you return value. Value for value podcasting.
Thank you for being a part of Let's Get Entrepreneurial. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
The last one, but definitely not the least, is confidence. That's something that people struggle with mightily. The developing of confidence and being unsure of themselves. But confidence can be developed. And it's very important for someone that's stepping into an entrepreneurial venture to work on their confidence abilities. I don't think of it as just a personal trait, but it's something that's a necessity in any entrepreneurial environment. That confidence will affect your decisions, how you lead teams, because if you're not exuding confidence, people aren't going to follow you. Where it's truly amazing, if you exude confidence, people will tend to draft along and assume that you'll be correct. Just that nature and that aura that you can create can be extremely helpful. Confidence can help with effective communication. And specifically, if you're pitching to investors and customers, you damn well better be confident in how you come across.
Yeah, it's overused, but confidence is key. And I can't tell you how many times I say that to really myself and as well as other people, because it's so true. If you're not confident in yourself, it's so easy for somebody to see that and then make decisions based on it. And typically, if they're sensing that you're not confident in yourself, they're not going to choose to follow you or give you the money or sell you the deal, whatever it is.
And history can build confidence. You want to learn from your failures. And as we've spoken many times, failing is okay for the right reasons, but don't keep failing for the same reasons. Learn from your failures. The networking that we've spoken about in the previous three is also important here because supportive networks can help build your confidence. And also celebrating small victories can be something that helps build your confidence.
Yeah, you stole the words out of my mouth. That one is absolutely vital. And it's something that you preach very well. You got to celebrate the small victories, or else it's so easy just to get hurt when something fails. And you don't really even experience that up and down that we all talk about. You just experience the flat and then the down and then the flat.
And last, for confidence, I would say proactively seek out feedback from qualified individuals to give feedback, not just random people who are talking through their hat. I mean, it's an old term. I don't know if anyone is even going to understand talking through your hat.
I have never even heard that.
Yes, it's a little too, well, okay, I'd say. But someone who doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. But if you're looking at people that have been there, done that, people that are qualified in particular areas, seek their feedback. And even if you made an incorrect decision or you're heading in the wrong direction, that can help redirect you. And understanding that can help develop your confidence also.
Seeking that feedback is huge. People often go to friends and family to get the original feedback. And it's a devastating thing to do because your mom, your dad, your best friend aren't going to tell you the truth. Even if they're telling you the perceived truth that they have, they're probably jaded. They're looking at it through a lens of rosy glasses. Go to somebody that has some actual expertise and is willing to have an honest conversation with you. My go-to for that is figure out who your ideal client is and go pitch it to somebody. They're going to be honest. And the honest answer is, are they willing to buy it? Or maybe you're not at the point of ready to sell something, but are they willing to have that conversation? Are they interested? That's the feedback you need.
It just struck me while you were talking in my classes, I have to actually teach students how to receive feedback, not to be negative in thinking they're being attacked, but to listen with a very critical eye, but understanding that the person giving feedback, if they're qualified, is being honest with you. If you recall in my classes, when you're doing pitches and presentations, I'm brutally honest. Many students start arguing or get very defensive. Some of them think I'm being mean to them, or it's the exact opposite. I'm being very kind by being truthful.
People get very defensive. They feel backed into a corner as soon as somebody gives them feedback a lot of times. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be adapt enough to take all of the feedback and take the grains of truth out of it so you can work on whatever it is that you're getting feedback on.
So those are the 4 C's. Any final thoughts before we conclude?
These are introspective tools. Everybody fits somewhere into these categories, and it's a really great way of looking at where you might have a deficit or where you might excel so that you can exemplify that or work on that.
And I would agree. And also understand, as I mentioned at the onset of this episode, this is a blend of areas. They flow together, but develop them proactively. If someone develops them proactively, they will be very surprised at the positive results they have, both from their self-perception and the perception from others of themselves. Well, let's get entrepreneurial.
Let's get entrepreneurial.
We extend our gratitude for your presence and attention. Check out profspirit.com to discover resources and courses designed specifically for innovators like you. Stay on the cutting edge by following us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and other platforms as it is released. Until then, keep the entrepreneurial flame burning.